Hi students, and welcome to today's lesson. I'm Mrs. Baidani. Today we will explore the question, how do we describe our view of the sun, the moon, and stars in Earth's sky? Are you ready? Grab your pencil and your science journal, and let's get started. Imagine you are searching for buried treasure on an island far out at sea. You have this treasure map, and you already made your way to the place where X marks the spot. You're ready to start digging for treasure. But wait, your friend has both the shovels. She's still at the ship and doesn't have a map. You need to call your friend and give her clear directions over the phone. What will you say to guide your friend to the treasure? How will you tell your friend how to get from the docked ship to the X that marks the treasure chest? Let me show you the path and how to get to the X. How would you get there? What directions will you give? You might say something like, go past the statue toward the temple. When you get to the giant palm tree, turn left and then right to go around the back of the temple. Keep going. You'll see a huge cave on your left and a lake on your right. When you get to the creek, cross the bridge and turn right. Follow along the creek until it bends away, then take 10 steps towards the palm trees at the eastern coast of the island. There you'll find a giant X that marks where the treasure is buried. Those are great directions. When you give a friend directions, you're helping them navigate. Navigation is the process of following directions to get from one place to another. Maybe you've used a GPS to help you with navigation. What characteristics did our directions have? We use direction terms such as left and right. We use distances too, right? We told our friend how many steps to take. We also use features on the island in our directions. We can use features on the island as landmarks to guide our directions. A landmark is an object or feature in an environment that is easily seen and can serve as a guide. What landmarks did we use in our directions to the buried treasure? We said, go past the statue, right? So the statue is a landmark. We also mentioned the temple, the cave, the creek, and the lake in our directions. Those are all landmarks. Great work! But how would we navigate if we couldn't see any landmarks? Imagine you are out at sea with no land in sight and without tools such as a map, GPS, or compass to help you find your way. How would you know which way to go? What can humans use to help them navigate at sea during day or night? Do you think we could look for landmarks in the sky? That's a great idea. Maybe we could use the sun, the moon, and the stars to navigate. If we look more closely at the sky to identify patterns, that might help us answer the question, how do we describe our view of the sun, the moon, and stars in Earth's sky? Let's see whether we can use these strategies to find our way around Polynesia. Look at this map. This shaded part of the Pacific Ocean is called the Polynesian Triangle. This area measures more than 10 million square miles. That's 3 times larger than the continental United States. Wow! What would it be like to navigate in this vast ocean? What do you notice about the land and water in this part of the world? I see mostly ocean and not much land. Do you notice that too? What else do you notice? Let's zoom in. I wonder whether those bumps are small islands. I can't tell. Let's look at the other map again. What do you notice when I zoom in? I notice many small islands placed far apart and surrounded by water. Even though these islands are so far apart, the Polynesian people who live on the islands today share a common language and culture. Their ancestors arrived on the many small islands in this vast area of ocean between 800 BCE and 1300 CE. Wow, so some of their ancestors arrived almost 3,000 years ago. But how did people navigate between islands back then? Let's look at another map. This is the island of Rurutu, and this is the island of Tahiti. What do you think the journey from Tahiti to Rurutu would be like? That is a really long way to travel in the open ocean. How would you navigate the 300-mile trip without landmarks or modern tools for navigation? How did the Polynesians find their way from island to island? Well, let's read the article Polynesia's Genius Navigators by Liesl Clark to find out. While we're reading the article, let's see what evidence we can find about how Polynesians navigated these great distances. How did the first inhabitants of Easter Island arrive? It is the most remote inhabited island on Earth. The coast of Chile lies 2,300 miles to the east, Tahiti 2,500 miles to the northwest, and the nearest island with a total population of 54 people is tiny Pitcairn, 1,400 miles to the west. The answer lies in the deeply rooted traditions of Polynesian culture. The people of the Pacific are intimately tied to the ocean. They sailed the sea hundreds of years before Europeans, using voyaging canoes crafted from island materials and stone tools. The Polynesians approached the open ocean with respect. Indeed, the ocean was integrated naturally into Polynesian culture, as they came from small islands surrounded by vast ocean expanses. In island culture, the double canoe and its navigator were integral to the survival of the people. As an island became overpopulated, navigators were sent out to sail uncharted seas to find undiscovered islands. Thousands of miles were traversed without the aid of sextants, a type of navigation instrument, or compasses. The ancient Polynesians navigated their canoes by the stars and other signs that came from the ocean and sky. Navigation was a precise science, a learned art that was passed on verbally from one navigator to another for countless generations. In 1768, as he sailed from Tahiti, Captain Cook had an additional passenger on board his ship, a Tahitian navigator named Tapaya. Tapaya guided Cook 300 miles south to Rurutu, a small Polynesian island, proving he could navigate from his homeland to a distant island. Cook was amazed to find that Tapaya could always point in the exact direction in which Tahiti lay, without the use of the ship's charts. Unlike later visitors to the South Pacific, Cook understood that Polynesian navigators could guide canoes across the Pacific over great distances. As we read the article, what evidence did we find that Polynesians navigated great distances in the ocean? They did not use tools such as a compass to navigate. They used the stars and other signs from the ocean and sky. And they passed their knowledge verbally from one generation to the next. So, the ancient Polynesians used stars and other celestial objects to find their way. Celestial is the word ancient cultures created to describe objects in the sky. Using celestial objects such as stars, the sun, and the moon to find one's way is called celestial navigation. Do you think that people still use celestial navigation today? Actually, they do. People studying to become sailors and pilots at the United States Naval Academy continue to learn how to navigate by using celestial bodies even today. But how do you think humans can use celestial objects for navigation? Well, I remember that sun rises in the east, so that could help figure out which way is east. And if the celestial objects stay in the same place, we could use them like landmarks to help us find our way. What must be true about celestial objects if they can be used for navigation? Well, they must be visible in the sky, right? And what if they are moving? There must be some sort of patterns in their movement so that we can predict where they will appear in the sky. There must be some consistency in the location and movement of celestial objects for humans to use them as landmarks in navigation. Let's look at the sky for 3 days to see whether we can find any patterns. These photographs of the sky were taken at the same place at the same time for 3 days in a row. What objects do you observe in the sky? Do you notice the sun in each of the photographs? If so, well done. What else do you notice? I see different types and amounts of clouds. How interesting. What patterns do you notice about objects in the sky? One of your tasks after today's lesson will be to answer this question. Can you predict what you will see in the sky on the next day at the same time? Another one of your tasks after today's lesson will be to predict where the sun will be the next day. Wow, we learned so much about celestial navigation and early Polynesian navigation today. Can you imagine sailing on a ship through the vast Pacific Ocean without modern tools for navigation? That would be an adventure. Remember when we gave your friend directions to the buried treasure? How are celestial objects similar to the landmarks in our directions? How are they different? Well, you couldn't tell your friend to turn right at the sun, could you? The sun is too far away. But if you know where the sun will be in the sky at a certain time of day, maybe you can say, walk toward the sun. I still have a lot of questions about how ancient Polynesians, such as Tupaya, use celestial objects to navigate. Do you? In the next lesson, we'll continue to explore by drawing a model of celestial navigation together. See you next time for more adventures in navigating. Let's review your tasks for today. First, answer the question about objects in the sky. Second, predict where the sun will be the next day.